this. This is our first in our series of our Tuesday tips. For those of you who don't know, we created Tuesday tips out of our mixed groups, which is our Middlesex Information Exchange. So those are 4 peer-to-peer groups that we put together that have been kind of discussing different topics and ideas. And it's amazing how much commonality each group kind of had and topics they were looking for. So that's where this whole grouping came from. So today we are so fortunate to have Don from HP Live. Don was actually our savior in the very beginning. He came to us from Darlene Briggs. When we first came onto the Zoom platform, none of us kind of knew what to do. So Don was the first guy I called out of her suggestion. And then he did an amazing workshop for us. But the goal of these Tuesday tips is to really give kind of a high level discussion on how Zoom has the platform as it really advanced and the different things they're doing. So you know the tools and tips and techniques to really run a great meeting or participate in a great meeting. And really kind of have a conversation after that with any questions you may have, things you've learned, pitfalls you found, and ways to get around that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this right over to Don. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate you being here, and I look forward to a great presentation.
All right, perfect. So hello, everybody. It's very good to be here, and I'm just going to give you a quick introduction, and we're going to go back and forth a lot between some things here. So, today is about some tips on, I call it getting started with Zoom. And perhaps you use Zoom often, but you use it as an attendee and not as a host, or vice versa. And it's important to kind of understand the differences between them. So first of all, myself, my name is Don Kazakis. I am with HP Live. We're an event production company based in North Haven. And as Joanna said, we've done a lot with Zoom. So part of our business in the pivot during COVID has been to produce live events using Zoom as the platform. So that's where I'm bringing my expertise today, and to help you with some tips that may help you move along with that well. So what I'd like to do just quickly is just a little show of hands. And you can just raise your hand on the screen. And that is for those people who are attending Zoom meetings on a regular basis as an attendee. So you guys are doing that a lot. Okay, how about people that are hosting meetings as an attendee? Okay, not so much. For those of you that don't host often, is that something that you'd like to get out of today, is tips on hosting meetings more? A little bit. Okay, great. Let's see. That gives me a good starting point. So let me jump back over to my presentation. So first and foremost with Zoom, what's really important is to stay as current as you possibly can. So you want to run the app, and you can do it on your PC, your Mac, your tablet, your phone. You just have to understand that each of those tools and the software that's loaded on them operates a little bit differently. So if you're used to using Zoom on a PC and you suddenly switch over to an iPad tablet, or another kind of tablet, the interface can be very different, and it can be kind of disorienting. The other thing that they're constantly doing is updating the software with features. So, my first advice to people is to update your software frequently. And it's really easy to do in the app. You just click on help and look, it'll give you an option for search for updates, and it'll take you right out to Zoom's website and tell you whether you're current or not. And it's really easy to download. So that's one of the big things to look for. So one of the common challenges that people have, and this is where we're going to get into some of the tips, is, and I want to confirm that you're looking at my Zoom. Make sure I shared the right screen here. You are looking at my Zoom profile page. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So when you have your Zoom account, you can customize many things. And I'm going to assume for a moment that everybody has their own Zoom account, and it doesn't matter whether it's basic or pro, because some of the features are the same. The pro gives you a little bit more features, but for the most part, the things that we're going to talk about right now are the same between those platforms. And the first is setting up a good profile so that the people that you're meeting with, whether you're a host or an attendee, know who you are. You've got your name set up. You can upload a picture. With one of my other accounts, we have a logo that you can upload. So if you're using this for business, that's an option as well. One of the tips that I like to share right off the bat is setting up a personal meeting ID. And this can be a number that is something that you can remember easily, so that if you want somebody to join your Zoom room, you can share it very quickly. So, for me, my personal meeting ID, and I don't mind showing you this, is actually my phone number. So you can go into your profile, you can change that number to something you'll always remember, and you'll be able to give that out to people to join you at a moment's notice. We're going to talk about security in just a moment, but you can see some other things here about integrating your calendar and changing out your password. This is the place that you would do that. The next thing that I want to show you is if you are a business owner and you're using this for your team, and you're having licensing for more than one person, is that you have this admin panel on the left side of the screen. And this is where you can look at the different users that you have in your account. So here's a list of all of my team and their licenses. You can also see this great little dashboard about who is using their license most often. So for HB Live, we've got 12 licenses, and I can see the people that are using them or not using them, and then reallocate to different people if necessary. And it's really easy to do. So as you're getting into this for your small business, if you need to move those licenses around, it's very easy to do. The other place that I want to take you now is over to settings. So the settings panel works very similar for free version and pro version. If you're on the free version, some items may be grayed out because they're not available, but don't really worry about that. A couple of key things that I want to show you, and that is surrounding security. So last year, there was a big hullabaloo about Zoom and security and Zoom bombing, et cetera. And they tightened things down, and they now require that you have a security setting. And there's two primary forms of that. So one is using the waiting room, which is very simple to do. You enable your waiting room right here. And that means that anybody joining that meeting will go into a waiting, and the host can then see them and allow them in. That's just how this was set up today. The other thing that you can use is a meeting passcode. So for this account that I'm showing you, they are using the passcode, and you can scroll down here to see the, sorry, I'm on the wrong screen, but you can change the password here. The thing about using the passcode is then you need to share that out or embed it into the link for the meeting. So it's something that's important to pay attention to. So at this moment, I'm going to pause for a second, and I'm just going to ask if there's any questions so far, and if I'm heading into some of the features that are of interest to you. Mr. Bell, excuse me, Mr. Bell.
That's Bob or Santa. Is the security passcode generated by you or by Zoom, and does it change with every meeting?
Yeah, great question. So if you are using the personal meeting ID that I showed you, then you can set that password and retain the same password every time. If you use Zoom to schedule a meeting without the personal meeting room, then it will automatically assign a password and it will change every meeting. The meeting number will change every time and the passcode will change every time. So from a security standpoint, especially if you have a number of meetings with different parties, using Zoom to schedule the meeting is a more secure method of doing that. And I'll share my screen again just briefly to just to show you if I'm in my account and my meetings, when I create a new meeting, it will generate automatically the meeting number, and then the security, it'll plug in a passcode right here, or you can type in your own. And then you can disable the passcode and use the waiting room if you prefer. So that's a great question. Okay. Yes.
Faith here. What about reoccurring meetings? Like you have a meeting that actually occurs every month at the same time. I don't know about quarterly meetings, but if you're able to do that, but certainly monthly ones should be easy enough to do.
Yes, absolutely. So right here, again, I'm still in that same meeting that I started to create before. You've got a recurring meeting option, and then you can choose the recurrence. And what'll happen is, just like if you're using Outlook, that's my preferred mail client. You can create a recurring meeting. It will show up on people's calendars at those intervals and give them the meeting information. This will generate that and send it out to everybody. And I believe we'll reuse that meeting number and passcode every time, every month.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So let's see where we want to go next. So some other settings that I would like to show you as we get more advanced is, and I'm sorry, I want to go back to, I'm jumping around and I apologize. And I'm going to show you this. And I've got a great setup here. I've got 3 monitors, I've got a light, I've got all of the tools here. So I'm able to jump around, but sometimes it gets a little discombobulated. So I did want to share with you, if you're not used to being a host of a meeting, the interface when you join when you create that meeting and start it actually looks a little bit different, and you've got a couple of extra options, and I want to show you what those look like. So what you can see here is, if I'm in this meeting as the host, I now have a bunch of tools at the bottom, which includes a security tab where I can set and change the security options for this meeting while it's in progress. I can see the polling tab and create and change polls. Excuse me. I can do recordings, breakouts. Support is a unique feature that allows you to actually take over somebody's desktop and help them with their software if necessary. But if you join as an attendee, you can see that your options are immediately limited here. So one of the features of Zoom, and you can actually try this right now on your desktop, is if you click on the participant tab or the participant button at the bottom, you should get a little pop out on the side with a list of everybody's name, right? So you can see that. Well, if you look at the, and I don't have a screenshot of this, but if you look up at the top, just to the left of the word participants, there's a little down caret. And you can pop out that participant list, and now it's a floating window that you can drag actually over to, I'm going to drag it over to my PowerPoint screen, and I'm going to show you right here that I now have the participant window popped out, and I can move that around. So if you're hosting an event and you need to keep an eye on who's raising their hand and other things that are going on, it's just a great way to keep an eye on that. And if one of you uses the Zoom tool to raise your hand, you'll notice that that's going to pop up to the top. So if somebody wants to go ahead and click that, right? So you can see Johanna gave me a little applause right there. Anybody raising their hand will bubble up to the top so that you can effectively take questions from people. So the other thing that you can do related to that is if you use the chat function, the same thing applies. You can have it merged to the side of your meeting window, or you can use that little down caret to pop it out. And for me, when I'm hosting meetings, I can have my content on one screen, I can have my chat on another, and the participants right next to it. And then if I'm using Q&A, have that right next to it as well, and be able to really facilitate a great meeting with people. And while I'm on that topic, one of the big tips that I'm going to give you is if you're hosting a big important meeting where you need to focus on the content, maybe just like this meeting here, you want to have a team of people that are helping you. So I'm handling the presentation. Joanna and Haley are actually moderating the event, and they're going to watch the Q&A and the chat and see if anybody pops anything out, and then they'll be able to jump in and help me out. So I can focus on the content and on you, and they can focus on what's happening behind the scenes. So that's another really important tip. One more thing, I have a few more things to share, but I want to show you really quick. In your Zoom, it's especially if you are going to be a host, it's important to know how you are going to look and sound to the people that you're presenting to. And if you go into your Zoom and you use your audio tools here, so the little caret next to your mute, the up caret, if you go here and you use test speaker and microphones, you'll have the ability to record a sample audio from your microphone and play it back, and you'll be able to hear how you sound to other people. And the reason that that's important, and I'm going to do a quick comparison for you, is I have a semi-professional USB microphone. It's about $100. It's really not that expensive, but the change in audio is actually quite stark. So I just changed my audio to my webcam, and it should sound much hollower, echoey, tinny. Yeah. And if you imagine listening to me for an hour on this microphone, you'll be exhausted. So, and you don't have to buy any professional level microphone. You may just simply need to pick a different room, perhaps, add some draperies, or maybe prop some pillows just outside of your camera view, just to deaden the sound a little bit. And that'll make a better experience for your audience. So, so there's a comment here. Let's see. So Beth indicates that as a host, once you share the presentation, the bottom icons disappear and the chat boxes can be barely read. Yes, you are correct. There's some back and forth that you have to get used to when you're sharing content, and it's really just a matter of practice with the setup that you have.
Don, our problem is our presentations are usually 3 hours long. So, and we've done, we teach classes regularly, and by hour 2, it completely disappears. So the chat and the participants box completely disappear. We've reached out to Zoom about this. We've uploaded the latest software. It's gone. So we have to keep pressing, the bottom icons, chat and participants, and then shrink them again and put them on the side so we can continue to see them and continue on with the presentation.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the problem is that once we start having to constantly do that, it makes it actually harder for it will go over the icons of where you're trying to move your presentation forward. So we have to pick and choose between actually seeing the chat and being able to unmute people accordingly in the participants box, or let anybody else new joining, and actually being able to continue on the presentation. Do you have any suggestions on that?
Yeah, I think that that's where, and you're right, when you share and stop sharing, some of the things reset on your screen. It's my understanding, and these are things that I always need to test because we do so many different things that it's hard to remember how things actually perform. This is where having another person assist you so they're watching those things may be beneficial, where their settings will remain consistent while the presenter, that those chat things pop up and down.
Yeah, we do that now. It's still problematic. So
Yeah, you know what? I'm happy to explore that with our producers and see how we're handling that, and see if I can get you a solution.
thank you so much.
Yep, happy to do that. Joanna, if you could just make a note to send me that, thank you so much. So great time to see if there's any other questions or comments. Yes.
Can you tell me the difference between hosting and scheduling a meeting?
Well,
Is there a difference?
Yeah, well, scheduling of the meeting. So if you are the person going into Zoom and creating the meeting in your account, you are instantly the host. So scheduling the meeting.
Oh, so it doesn't make any difference then.
Yep, absolutely. So scheduling is building the meeting and sending out the invitation.
Yeah.
And then hosting is the act of starting the Zoom.
Right. So they're one and the same. Okay, so there is no difference. That's what someone said. They said, can you schedule the meeting? And then if you don't log in and I log in, will I be the host? I said, I have no idea. I can't answer that question.
Yeah, and you can, so that's actually a great point. So you can allow your attendees, that's one of the options in your meeting. Sorry, let me get to that and then show you what that looks like. I'm going to go here. Okay. So this option here, allow participants to join anytime.
Yes.
Means that when you schedule a meeting and they click on join, if they have been given the password, then they will actually start the meeting.
Ah, now you've made my day. You really have.
Yep. And then
because there are times I want to need to schedule a meeting, but I said, I can't be there. I don't know if I have to be there in order, or if I have to start it, or if I just set it up and the first person that logs in becomes the host. So you've answered my question. That's perfect.
Yeah, the other thing is if in your organization you have other people on your account, right? So they're licensed people in your account, you can add them as alternative hosts. So unfortunately, this doesn't work with external users. So
exactly. And
right.
that was the case. The person didn't have an account. And I said, I really don't know if I just set it up. I said, scheduling instead of hosting it. If I schedule it, that if you log in first, that you'll be the host. But I said, I don't have the answer to that. So I said, I'm afraid. So I'll make sure I just start the meeting. So I'm in two meetings at one time, one I need to be over here and someone, but I do know about co-hosting. It has to be a license package because it comes up and tells you that you can't find that person. But I'm glad that option allow participants to join anytime. So the first one that logs in becomes the host. Okay, I'll just tell them to log in early. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I did talk about the audio settings, but I do want to point out as well that there's a video settings option. And if you have different cameras, so for me, I have three options on mine. One is the camera that I'm using right now. Another is the one that is integrated into my laptop. And the third is a piece of software called Logitech, which allows me to do some other video tools. There are other video softwares that will also allow you to use them as an input. So if you are in the business where perhaps you want to add some production value to your event, and add graphics or overlays, there's tools that you can use in order to build that in. Additionally, this is the place that you would go to change some of your, your virtual background and your other video settings to get to high definition or some other things. And I do want to pause for a moment and just talk about virtual backgrounds. Everybody it was really enamored with them. They've done the blur, they've done some cool photos. And what we've discovered with our clients is that they're exhausted from them, and they can be distracting because they don't always work well. And Joanne and I were talking about this before, where they'll move their hand and it disappears, and it's just not a great experience. If you want to use a branded backdrop and maybe have everybody on your team do so, what you want to do is get a green screen fabric. So it's available on Amazon. Just search for green screen, and they've got pop-up ones, or you can buy a sheet of it and hang it up. The reason for using the green is that in Zoom, it's a very specific color green, and it will process that virtual background very, very well. And it's a much better experience for your audience. So it gives you a professional look and higher quality. And most importantly is your computer does not have to work as hard to do the virtual background. So, I don't know if anybody has ever tried to use it and noticed that when it's enabled, the video can be a little bit garbled, or you have trouble. And when it's disabled, it seems to work better. It's the processing of your computer. So virtual backgrounds can be great when used judiciously. One of the more recent features added by Zoom is the ability to use video as a backdrop. And one of my partners actually has a really, really cool video backdrop that has an actual clock on it, and the clock is running in the background, and it's set to the current time. And I thought that was just an absolute brilliant use of that video backdrop. So just a cool thing. So let's see.
Hey, Don, I had a quick question.
Sure.
You had mentioned that microphone before, and there was a very clear difference on that. Can you just tell us what the name of that was?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, hang on.
Please hold.
The headsets are great as well.
I've actually got a box of them here.
Okay.
And it didn't occur to me until just now, but Joanna, if you want to pick names out of a hat, I am happy to donate one of these for the attendees today as a little door prize.
That's
So this
fantastic.
is a Shure, and the model number is an MV5, and it's a USB microphone, and it looks like this, and it looks like this,
Oh, it's
and you
tiny.
just, yep. So anyway, happy to share that.
Well, thank you.
And there's lots of them out there. So Shure is a professional brand. The microphones are prosumer, but there's other ones out there. There's microphones called Blue. That's the other one that comes to mind. There's a couple of them out there. If you drop into Amazon and you Google it and you see a brand that it's probably like from Shenzhen or whatever, China, just avoid it. Just email me. I'll tell you what brands to pick and not to pick, because I don't want you to waste your money.
Thank you for that. And thank you for the offer. I think Haley, I see her typing, so I'm thinking she's using our randomizer that we do. So I just
Hey,
texted her,
there you go.
"We know
Okay.
the randomizer."
Yep, happy to do it. So I did mention, I'm sorry, I don't know if I mentioned, but a couple of really important tips as far as using Zoom professionally. If you're going to be on Zoom a lot, whether you're in your home or in your office, hardwire your computer. Don't rely on Wi-Fi because it's inherently unreliable for video, for this type of video call. So you may have great experience with your Wi-Fi. You might get an awesome, reception But if you are using it professionally for something, we do recommend hardwiring. And this is a recommendation for an easy to get, very inexpensive, reliable cable to plug your computer in and an adapter. And I'll share these with Joanna and she can email them out to you. But we do recommend hardwiring from your computer to your internet router, wherever it is. And if you're in the office, the wall jack is hopefully live, or you can work with your IT team. So it's the bottom of the hour, and I've got a couple other things that I can share, but I'm curious what else you are interested in hearing about or learning about.
Don, this is Beth. We have one other issue with the breakout rooms. So if you could go into that a little bit or provide some details, I think that would be so helpful. You know, we are frequently using the breakout rooms and we've already set up, you know, our classes. So we're not able to go back in and edit and reset it up. We have to basically log in and then, you know, set it at the bottom of the screen before it starts. The challenge with that is that it holds that we're able to set it up to change the number of breakout rooms that we want, but it grays out the options, so we can't change the time. So it holds the time from our previous meeting, which is never accurate. So I'm just wondering what you suggest with that.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, so I've got to think about the way that we utilize the breakout rooms, and you know, they've changed a lot of the breakout room functions in the last update, which was only about 45 days ago. And you know, and it is software version dependent, not necessarily for the host, because if you're up to date, then you'll get all the greatest features. But for your attendees, if they're on older versions, they may not have access to some of those options. So you know, when we when we create the breakout rooms, and I'm sorry, when you said the time, you're talking about the length of time?
Yes, I'm sorry, the length of time that we would set up the breakout room for.
The breakout room to
So I can
hold it.
set up the numbers that I want in the breakout room, but it grays out the options, so I can't adjust the time. So for example, the one that we have coming up, I need their breakout rooms to be for 7 minutes. The last meeting we had, it was for 5 minutes. So I know it's going to automatically hold that for this meeting. So I'm just going to have to tell them to ignore it and then do the manual, take them out of the room.
Yep. And this is, and I'm sorry, my camera's kind of wigging out on the brightness here. And this is a recurring class?
We teach continuing education classes for insurance professionals. So it's a different topic each time. So the breakout rooms can vary each time.
Right, but what I meant to ask, I'm sorry, is the meeting that you're using is recurring, or you're creating a new meeting each time?
It's a new meeting each time. We're required to do that with the state's requirements because everyone has to register under a new passcode.
That's interesting. I have to admit, I've never seen that, and I'm wondering if that is in a meeting. Let me just show you where I'm going here. I'm wondering if that is a meeting setting, and there's so many meeting settings. There's just pages and pages and pages here. To see if there's something related to breakout rooms that, let's see, in meeting. And I apologize to everybody, but you've really piqued my curiosity on this, and I really want to see if I can help you out. But I don't see a breakout room. Yeah, I'm going to need to get back to you on that locking out the time. But suffice it to say for everybody else, so breakout rooms you can set up at the and pardon me, I'm going to stop my camera and turn it on because the brightness keeps on changing, and I want just like that, and I want to look good for you. So and that's a quick tip. If your camera's wigging out, simply either turn it off, turn it back on, or when you block it, let it focus on your hand and then pull it away. It should reset on your face. So briefly, when you set up your meeting, you can automatically create those breakout rooms and assign people to them. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to setting them up and doing that. But during the meeting itself, you can just do ad hoc meeting rooms, rename them, and I can drag this over to my other screen here and show you what this looks like. So this here is our meeting right now. And I just went in and created 2 rooms, and I can rename this room to be, say, business, and
excuse me, Don, we're actually seeing the end of the slideshow.
oh my, let's see if I can. How about now?
And now it's your desktop.
Okay, so Zoom will not let me share this with you. That's interesting. So I'm unable to share with you this breakout screen because of the way that Zoom functions. But and I do apologize because in my mind I wasn't diving into the breakout sessions. My advice is to create a meeting. You can create it with yourself and start it, and go into the breakout option and see how that looks, and experiment with those settings. And I'm happy to go into a deeper dive on breakouts, Joanne, on a different session if you'd like. But Beth, I will look into that, graying out the time on that breakout room, because that something's wrong. Okay, that is most of what I wanted to cover today. And my time is yours. So if there are other areas that you'd like to cover or discuss. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I wanted to talk about some ways that you can use Zoom for your business. So unfortunately, I don't know you and your businesses. I know that I've heard that you do training and I've heard classes. But if you are a small business owner and you want to use this to do outreach with your clients, there's some cool things that you can do with Zoom. So last year we talked about doing cooking demonstrations. So that was one way to do it. And the great part about Zoom, as I noted with my video settings, is the ability to connect different cameras. So if you have more than one camera, if you own more than one camera, you can plug more than one into your computer and choose between them when you're hosting an event. There's actually a shortcut to switch between the cameras as well. And I can't remember the keyboard shortcut, but it will toggle through those cameras. So if you're hosting an event like that, you can very easily do that. Another thing that you can do with your personal meeting room is have office hours. So you can publish your personal meeting room to your website, put it in your email address, and say, on these particular days and times, I'm going to be available, and people can basically join your meeting room, possibly drop into your waiting room, and you can just let them in as if they were knocking on the door to your office. So clients can actually visit with you at any time. The same can go for your staff. The last tip that I have as far as using it for your business is a tool that I've subscribed to called Calendly. And Joanna and I talked about this before. And it's a, I will just drop into my account really quick and show you. It connects between your email and your Zoom account. So you can see this call with HB Live here. Okay. So in calendly.com is the URL. It's a free service, and you can set up a type of meeting that will synchronize with your calendar, and your clients can pick a day, pick a time, and automatically set up an appointment. So you set the times that you're available, you set the Zoom meeting options, and this will set up the appointment. It will email them an appointment with a meeting ID. It'll email you the appointment with a meeting ID. And then it also gives them the option to cancel or reschedule that event. So when I'm working with clients and we're trying to, oh, I've got 7 people that need to join this call, I send them this link. Their team can go in and pick the time that's open for them, and they already know that I'm available and able to speak. So it's a really great and powerful tool. And there is a paid version which offers a lot more functions, but the free version is great and has worked out really, really well for me. So a couple of real quick use cases for using Zoom and that personal meeting room. So at this point, I can open it up to questions, comments, other shares. Does anybody have a tip that they would like to share with people? Yes.
I don't particularly have a tip, but my curiosity is up that does anybody here own stock in Zoom? Because before the pandemic, had anybody ever heard of Zoom? And now we are all flat screen. And it wasn't until Easter Day that I had a chance to see my grandchildren again, and I found out that they were 3-dimensional. That they actually moved beyond their bedrooms or living rooms.
So I don't own any Zoom stock. I was very familiar with Zoom even before the pandemic for other professional reasons. But know that and look into the company. I don't make recommendations on investments, but they have a lot of other business services that go along with Zoom. So I think Joanna has a Zoom room, if I remember correctly. So they have a piece of hardware in their office, in their conference room, that connects to Zoom meetings and makes that a different interface and experience for them. So I think Isabel had a question.
Yes, what's the difference between free and paid Zoom?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the main difference is at the first pass, the big difference is the amount of time that you can host a meeting. So on the free version, you can host meetings all the time, as much as you want, but they're limited to 40 minutes. There's some other options in Zoom that are only available in the Pro version. But if you are only using Zoom as an attendee or casually with friends and family, the free version is perfectly fine. So looking for the chart really quick on the differences in the plans, and I'll just share this because it's available on their website. But you can see that the free version gives you up to 40 minutes, one-to-one meetings. When you get into the Pro version, you can add longer meetings. I can't imagine holding a 30-hour meeting. And you can add other features. And then when you get into the business accounts, that's when you can get into different security services like single sign-on and domain control.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So let's see. Go ahead, Joanna.
And this is probably because I haven't updated in a couple weeks, but I noticed before that you had that at the bottom of your screen, you had that option to assist somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have it, so I probably haven't upgraded. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's a and I apologize for my camera. It's just misbehaving today. So that is an option that's in your settings. You need to enable it.
Okay.
So it's off by default. And then if you go into your meeting advanced settings, you will see the option for the assist.
Because that is extremely helpful. There's a lot of times we're on meetings and people are trying to, go down to the left. And so that would be a very helpful tool to utilize. So it's under settings. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Some other features in Zoom that have been enabled recently that, again, you have to go into your options and look for them is you can add captioning, automatic captioning on your Zoom events. So for the hearing impaired, that's available. You can also enable the ability to have somebody do captioning for you. So if you have, in some places, they have a stenographer or a captioner, a human person, and you can assign that person the role of captioning, and they can enter them, and they'll overlay in your meeting as well. So that's a great thing. Another feature that a lot of people don't know about is the ability to stream your meeting or webinar. So if you have a license, say for 100 people, but you know that you're going to have 1,000 show up, you can set it up for streaming. And when you hit the cap on your attendees, they'll be given the option of going to the link for YouTube is typically the place that people will stream it, but you can also use Facebook or other services. So that's a great tool as well that we use for clients where their webinar license might be maxed out, but if they stream to YouTube, they don't get that. People don't get to participate in Q&A or interactivity, but they get to watch the event essentially for free.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in real quick. So we've been doing all of our lunches or breakfasts, and we've been streaming through Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Gino back in March. And I think from the day that we had it to now, we've had over 7,000 views.
That's awesome.
Like, that's huge. And, when we had the event, of course, they send it out to their alumni who's across the country. So we had people across the country watching the event. So that was something that we've never been able to do before. So it really, when we go back into in-person events, we are going to have some type of hybrid feel to it. So we're going to be also offering the virtual, but it really opens the doors to so much more, and you really can access so many more people than you can, so it's kind of exciting. And you can, so like I will watch the Facebook feed while the event's going on, because I do have Haley usually on, myself and somebody else. So I will type the questions in the chat section so that we do, it is interactive at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Yes, Beth.
Yeah, I just had a quick tip as well. That was a fantastic tip, Joanna. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that was fantastic. A quick tip as well. It's really helpful if you're going to be hosting more meetings in the future, or if you're upgrading from the free to some of the pro levels. Zoom has some fantastic tutorials, on their site that are absolutely free, and they range from, 3 to 5 minutes to 30 minutes. And I think I've taken them all, but they are absolutely fantastic, because especially if you're upgrading and before you start hosting, as Don showed, there's page after page after page of settings, and it's so easy to miss a few that you just don't understand their verbiage, of how they have it phrased, and think that it's important to you. And yet it's so important if you're hosting a meeting. So those are there and they're free, and you can take them anytime. And I found those to be very helpful as well.
Yes, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, there's so much stuff that I could talk about, but sharing the link to those tutorials is one that I should add to this presentation. So yes. I will, I'm happy to stay and talk longer. Joanna's got my contact information, and I'm here as a resource to the chamber members. So if you have a question, you have a situation, you have anything at all, and you just want to talk to me, please drop me an email. You saw how to get my calendar, or give me a phone call, and I'm happy to just talk you through it. And Beth, you challenged me with a couple of things that I'm not aware of, but I know that by talking with other people about their experience, I become smarter, and I love doing it. It's one of the favorite things that I do in my job.
Thank you so
agree.
much.
Thank you, Don. That was great, Johanna.
Before we
Thank you very
leave,
much. It was great,
Don
very
graciously
informative.
did donate a microphone. So I'm going to have Haley share her screen, and she's going to do the randomizer. So let's see who's the winner. I feel like I'm on Wheel of Fortune or something.
And are you seeing my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see your screen.
Okay, let's do it. Do, 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 do.
Even got music.
I love it. Let's see. Nancy, there you go. All right. You're the winner. If you get your address to me through Joanna, I'm happy to mail this to you, and it will go out in a day or so.
Excellent.
Stop share. There we go. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much, Don. As usual, you do a great job. There's always so many more questions I'm sure everybody has. So after this, we will be sharing from Haley. She'll be sending you an email with some of the links that Don discussed before. And I will put his email address in there so you guys can connect if you have any questions at all. He's great. He responds immediately. Don, again, I can't thank you enough. We will see you back not too far away on May 18th. He's going to be going over the essentials of the Microsoft Teams platform. That one's going to be a little bit more on how you can really work with your team to utilize all the Teams functions that are there. We have Microsoft Teams here and we don't use it very often. I'm sure we could do a lot, but one of the key things that keeps popping up in a lot of discussions is about how to engage your employees better and communicate better. So Teams is a great function for that. So Don's going to bring us down a great road to that. So thank you again, everybody. Please make sure you check out Tuesday Tips every Tuesday from noon to 1. We appreciate you coming on, Don. Amazing job as usual. We'll send you out an email, guys. Thanks for joining. Everyone be safe. Enjoy the nice weather because I hear we're getting snow on Friday. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So enjoy the nice weather and be safe, everybody.
All right.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
Stay well.
you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Hi, Isabel.
Bye, Faith.